Hello, my name is Blossoms, and welcome to another Genshin Impact video. And today we're going to be giving our first impressions on Hutao and just kind of my general thoughts about her. And yes, we are in the little trial stage here, so do keep that in mind. But before we go ahead and pop into it, got a little announcement here. I just came back from a little vacation, and I have missed the past 2 Mondays for the weekly stream that I usually do. So do keep in mind that now that I'm back, I should have no schedule conflicts. I should be able to go ahead and bring you guys the Monday stream content that I know some of you really enjoy. But anyway, let's go ahead and show off Hutao a little bit. First of all, the thing you want to know is the talents here. The first one here, her E, basically increases her attack based off of her max HP and converts her attacks to pyro damage. She also gains some increased resistance to interruption. Man, I really stumbled on my words there. But then her charge attacks also apply the Blood Blossom effect, which is really cool. The Blood Blossom effect goes off every 4 seconds and deals pyro damage. It's considered as elemental skill damage, and it can be refreshed by her, basically by doing her charge attack. And the skill attributes here is pretty interesting. This is a really solid attack increase. Don't let the 5.66% throw you off there. That is really significant. Then the activation cost is 30% of her current HP, which really isn't that big a deal, and we'll show you why momentarily. The Blood Blossom damage is pretty solid, and it lasts for 8 seconds, which means you're probably going to be getting 2 procs off the Blood Blossoms there. And then the duration of her E is 9 seconds, the cooldown is 16. So that is really something important to note, as when she's out of her E, she's pretty lackluster, and I'll show you guys whenever we actually show it off. So I think this really slots her into the role of sub DPS rather than main DPS. Could she be a main DPS? Yes, absolutely, but you are going to be falling off on damage whenever she is not on the field in her E. So basically, I think she fits better as a sub DPS, or you could think of that 7 seconds of downtime as the time that you're using your other characters to go ahead and do their setups for Hutao, and then come back and use her E. However, I still think she fits a little bit better into that sub DPS category, but I'm getting a little off tangent here. So we've got her Elemental Burst, which is the Spirit Soother. It deals a huge amount of pyro damage in a large AoE. Scaling here is pretty rock solid, and does more damage based on the fact if she has lower HP or not. If she's equal to or below 50%, she will deal more damage, and she will regenerate more of her HP. So when you cast this, you regenerate some HP, you deal some damage, and they both do better based off of the fact if she has 50% or less HP. Decent cooldown and 60 energy cost is very standard stuff right here. It's pretty darn easy to get back as well, so that's important to note. One other major thing here is her passive here, that whenever her E stance ends, it will give everybody in the party a 12% crit rate bonus for 8 seconds, which is really nice. So if you had a couple characters that are just lacking in crit rate just a little bit, that 12% is just going to come for free when you got Hutao on the team and you're using her E, which you should be. So that's just pretty darn nice. And then her other passive talent here basically just gives her a pyro damage bonus if she has 50% or less HP, and it's a substantial bonus at that, so that's very important to note as well. And then also she's just got a little passive that gives you suspicious dishes, which is pretty funny. As for artifacts they put you in the trial, we got the 4-piece Crimson Witch set when we've got the Staff of Homa. So that's important to know, is that we do have the Staff of Homa, and her details or attributes here are pretty darn nuts. She's got 54% crit rate, 181% crit damage, which is really, really solid. And then 57.7% pyro damage. Definitely can't complain about those numbers. Those are pretty good. But you might be noticing her attack is very, very low. Yes, her attack is very low at 1300, even with a level 85-star weapon and what I can only assume is an attack percent goblet. We really can't tell. But you will see that when she casts her E, that attack goes up substantially. And when I say substantially, I mean substantially. And we'll go ahead and see that in just a second. One other thing to note here is that her sprint makes her go basically into the ether for a moment. You can actually pass through enemies with this. It's really cool. It doesn't last though, so if you hold this down, she eventually just goes back to her running stance. It's only on the tap that happens, which is pretty nice. But let's go ahead and show off the E. So you see when I cast it here, that happens, and we just went from 1,300 attack to 3,000 attack. That's a 1,700 attack increase. That's pretty crazy, and it's not just the Staff of Homa that's really giving us that extra attack, by the way. I have seen some people with some 4-star weapons get very similar attack boost of like 1,500, 1,400, which is really, really good still. So just do keep in mind it's not just Staff of Homa carrying us here, it's just the fact that that attack increase is that good. Let's go ahead and show off our damage here, and you see we're dealing some really big damage here, 11Ks on these guys, but do keep in mind they are, you know, some melt procs. And then you'll see when we get out of the actual E here, her damage falls off significantly, dealing 1,000 on crits. And then you see we pop that back on, and now we're just annihilating everything. I'll show off her Q here real quick as well. Very cute Q, and it deals really good damage. You saw in the melt there, we did 100k. We did 47k to the other guys, and we've already got it back, but that's just because we killed, like, everything. And you do get more energy in these trial runs, by the way, than you would normally. Let's go ahead and show that off again. And, yeah, that's really strong damage. It's really good. On the non-crits, we were doing 20k, so that's really good, especially since the Q is very easy to get back. But you see, her damage really does fall off if you don't have the E going. That's something you definitely need to keep in mind. As for weapons for Hutao, other than Staff of Homa being the best weapon for her, period, you can definitely get away with the other 4-star options. Anything that accentuates crit rate or crit damage is going to be solid for you, like the Black Cliff or the Death Match. Those are definitely going to help you out, but I would say just use basically whatever weapon is going to accentuate your stats the best, as that is usually what matters the most, and usually that's your crit rate or crit damage, which is why those two are the ones I recommend. However, if I do get Hutao, I'm personally probably going to run the Favonius Lance on her, just because I think that would be a really fun and interesting way to run her as a sub DPS, just because when you activate her E, you want her on the field for a little bit to do some normal attacks, get some crits in there, which is going to give you that energy off of the Favonius Lance's passive there, and then you're going to have your ult, and you'll also be generating energy for the rest of the team. It's going to be a ton of energy, and she's going to be getting her ult constantly, and I think that could be a really fun way to play her, especially since she's so well tailored to being a sub DPS. As for artifacts, I really do like the 4-piece Crimson Witch of Flames on her. I would definitely test some other stuff out. However, I will say I don't recommend 2-piece of the Crimson Witch and 2-piece Gladiator like a lot of builds typically, you know, can follow, just because of the fact that her base attack is so very low. I would recommend something like Noblesse over that, or pretty much literally anything else that isn't the 2-piece Gladiator. The attack percent stuff just isn't really going to be worth it on her specifically because of her low base attack. As for constellations, she does have some good constellations. I'm not really going to go over these. The first one is pretty darn good, though. It's basically whenever she's in her E, her charge attack doesn't consume stamina anymore, which is pretty nice. And then the others just basically make her broken, as they usually do on 5 stars. So I really wouldn't worry about those unless you're a Giga Whale. And if that's the case, I'm sure you're already blowing through all the content regardless. So whatever. Let's go ahead and actually do a little bit more of the combat here, just to give you guys an idea how she plays. We get the E here, and one thing I will say is her charge attack is very seamless compared to most people. I forgot to show off the Blood Blossom there. We'll try not to kill everything here, and we'll see if we can get some Blood Blossoms going for you guys. See if we can see some of the damage numbers on the guys with the Blood Blossoms. Oh, there's like 200. I think we got a 10k on somebody over there with the Melt proc. So it does good damage. It's just not going to be your main source of damage. And you see, like, since it only has a chance to proc twice, it's not really that amazing. But it's definitely something you're going to want to keep in mind when you are using her, is to just go ahead and try and get a charge attack off every now and then. And you'll benefit highly from that. But yeah, overall, Hutao is really strong, and I think she's going to be one of the best sub DPSs in the game, and a very strong main DPS as well. However, I do still think her kit is a little bit better tailored for a sub DPS, but she's going to be good regardless. She does really good damage, and she has a very fun and unique kit, and her character style is just so fun to play with. So if I do get her, I'm going to be really excited, as she's going to fit in a lot of teams by default, just being a pyro character. Anyway, that's going to be it from me. Hopefully, I gave you guys a couple good tidbits of info on my first impressions there with Hutao. And if I did, please feel free to leave a like and comment below your thoughts on Hutao overall. As I would appreciate the interaction. I love reading through the comments with you guys. But as I said, that's going to be it from me. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. My name is Blossoms, and I will go ahead and catch you guys next time. Peace.